Welcome back to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, the space where we rise in faith and thrive in purpose. Today's episode is very special because it brings together an entire social media series into one grounded conversation. This is about 2026 being the year of you minding your business. And this is not in a dismissive way, not in a stay in your lane kind of way, but in a deeply healing, faith aligned, intentional, emotionally mature way. This episode is for the people who are tired of carrying things that aren't theirs, tired of managing emotions that don't belong to them, tired of feeling responsible for everything and everyone. If you are preparing for a breakthrough year, this conversation is for you. So let's first get into this. What does minding your business really look like? So, minding your business is not about disengagement, appearing aloof, being unbothered. It's really and truly about alignment. From a therapeutic lens, minding your business is emotional regulation. It's knowing where you end and where someone else begins. From a faith perspective, it's secure attachment to God. It's trusting that God can handle outcomes without you micromanaging them. And when we don't mind our business, we're usually over functioning, over committing, people pleasing, anticipating reactions, managing moods and emotions, bracing for disappointment. And your body, it pays the price. Here's the simplest example. When you stop managing other people's emotions, your nervous system finally gets to rest. It's not selfish, it's wisdom. Now, why does 2026 require a different version of you? Well, simply put, you cannot go into 2026 the same way you came into 2025, okay? And you cannot enter into a breakthrough year with survival habits. 2026 does not need a more productive version of you. It needs a more regulated version of you, a version of you that knows when to say no without guilt, a version of you that does not confuse urgency with importance. There is a difference. Breakthroughs are not about effort alone. They're about identity shifts. Some of what you tolerated in past seasons was because you didn't yet know what was available to you. But once you know better, you're responsible for choosing better and doing better. So, why is it hard to mind your business? I know we all, at some point or another, have struggled with this. And some of us are chronic non minding our business. Some of us are chronically minding the business of others, like it's a paid job. But let's normalize this. If you struggle to mind your business, it's not because you're controlling or dramatic. It's often because you learned this early in life as a tool for survival, right? So you learned early to overfunction. You were emotionally parentified, so you had to grow up more quickly. You had to take on responsibility in the home. You didn't get to just be a child. You learned to scan environments for safety to identify threats. You learned that being useful meant you were connected. That was a way to get favor sometimes too for people. And so you take it with you because it worked in that season. What you also need to recognize too is that these are trauma informed adaptations. Yep, I said it. But what kept you safe once can keep you stuck now. And healing doesn't shame those patterns, healing updates them, right? So we can take a look at it and recognize that we need to change. And like, yes, it was helpful before and prior seasons, but now it's hurting you. It might even be hurting people you love. No, you're allowed to release any type of coping skills that no longer serve your adult life. You don't have to keep doing it just because it's what you've always been doing. And I want to encourage you to be curious, to think about what do you need, and from there to develop some new healthier coping skills. Okay, minding your business and friendships. This is tough, okay? Because friendships is where things get entangled, and sometimes when we don't mind our business, our friendships suffer, or sometimes they just break down. So when you don't mind your business and friendships, you can become the emotional storage unit. You're the one that everyone goes to, they pile their stuff on. This might be the strong friend. They forget to ask you how you're doing, or they call you when they need things and when they're done. Okay, well, I gotta go. And they haven't even asked you about you, right? But this is where you also got to speak up and you can't allow people to do that. That's where boundaries come into play. But minding your business allows friendships to be balanced and in some cases rebalance because it's natural that in different seasons, there are going to be different levels of need for support, whether, whatever the support looks like at that time. And so that doesn't mean the moment they need more from you, I'm the emotional storage unit. I'm not saying that. We have to walk the middle path. We're not going to do the black and white all or nothing here. Okay. But just leave room and pay attention, have those conversations. Now, romantic relationships and dating. This is another place where minding your business is hard because it's a whole lot of y'all out there playing detective on people's social media profiles and coming up with stories and conclusions about things. And sometimes you're right. However, you're not minding your business. You're not allowing it to unfold organically. You're not getting context from the source. We have to be vulnerable and have conversations and ask hard questions. But again, that's one of those outdated coping skills. Remember, we talked about trying to identify threats when you go digging in people's social media. That's what you're doing, right? It's an attempt to keep you safe. But sometimes you might be keeping yourself out of a potentially healthy relationship. So, minding your business in dating, it looks like observing behaviors. Notice I said behaviors, not just social media patterns, because they're a real person. We're not interpreting and decoding potential or text messages, their words, and splitting them and looking for all this other meaning. Just ask the question you need to ask. And a lot of times, is it your filter that's requiring the decoding? Could be you. Also, we want to make sure we're not trying to manage the emotional momentum. Let things progress organically and naturally. And the only thing you can really and truly regulate is yourself. So if something's happening and you don't like the pace at which the relationship is moving emotionally, say something. Hey, I'm really enjoying getting to know you, but this part feels a little bit fast. It would feel better if, right? Instead of you doing too much. They have no idea what they've done wrong. And I think we all, we can benefit from the feedback in dating because none of us have done this life thing before. This is the first time you're doing this, first time you're dating that person. Doesn't matter how many relationships you've had. And also, we're not working so hard to force clarity. I do want you to, however, be curious. Ask the questions. But if it's too much work to get it, that means the person doesn't want it to be clear. And so then this may be where you say, hey, I really value clarity and understanding so I don't make up stories or fill in the blanks. And that means a lot to me. And if you're not able to, express that, then maybe we're not aligned, or maybe we should take a beat, because sometimes people don't want to give you clarity for a reason because it benefits them for you to be unclear about whatever their thing is. And you want to date with discernment, and this requires, stillness and ease. Now, minding your business professionally. Now, you could be an entrepreneur, but minding your business still matters, right? So professionally, this looks like we're not absorbing any workplace chaos. Stay out of it. That's not your business. It doesn't matter who's doing what happened, when did you see this? Because, yeah, it's always going to be something because messy humans are involved. We're just messy, y'all. But every day, every moment is a new opportunity to try to be better. And a great place to start is being mindful of what you're taking in. So avoid that chaos. And that trickles right over into protecting your creativity. Creativity, all of us, let's be clear, we are created in God's image. And the first thing that we know that God did was created the heavens and earth, right? And He took us through that whole process. So we all are creatives. So you have to protect that. So, minding your business is protecting that creative energy. So, you're going to stay out of unnecessary drama. We're not going to overwork to prove our worth or our value. We're not going to go out of our way, like overextend to connect with people, to try to get people to like us. I'm not saying don't talk to people. I'm not saying don't form relationships. But you know, when your spirit, your energy, if it's feeling rushed, if it's feeling pressured, or if it's just like so much energy and it's taking away from you doing your actual job, you are not minding your business. And I want you to know that peace is also a professional skill. Okay. Okay. So let me give you some practical tools that you can actually use. Okay. So the best one and the easiest one, you can do this literally right now. That's the ownership question. Is this mine? That's it. Is this mine? It's likely not. And just because you may have the solution, the idea to address whatever the thing is, it does not mean that you should, because then you are actively showing, you're actively signing up for a task. You're like, well, I just wanted to share. Well, they're like, oh, well, great, you do it. You got the vision. They want the person with the vision to do it. So if you don't have the capacity to do it and you don't really have a desire, then don't. Okay. Is this mine? I also want you to work on those boundary breaths, right? Where when you inhale, you're reminding yourself, it's not mine. And you exhale, you say release. So you're releasing the thing that is not yours and you can name it. It's important to name it because then it sends your brain the message to not run that play. It's not mine. I release, fill in the blank. Okay. Now, this next one, the sacred no. And that looks like saying, I don't have the capacity for that. Doesn't mean that you don't really want to. Doesn't mean that you don't like the idea or you're not excited about the invitation. It simply means I don't have the capacity for that. And you can do a number of things at this point. It could just be a no, I don't have the capacity for it. It could be a I don't have a capacity for it right now. Can I check back with you on Friday to see where you are? Or you say, my schedule looks better on Thursday for this thing. And then you've allowed them to decide if they want to move on and find someone else to help or if they're going to abandon the project altogether. So, something else to really be curious about when people are asking things of you, sometimes they're automatically banking on you saying yes. They asked you because they thought you would say yes. Make sense, right? And sometimes they just want to pass it over to you to get it done. So I know I had that experience prior to being in entrepreneurship where things kept getting placed on my plate. Things were being asked of me. And you can do some of these things for a short period of time. And so in some of the instances where I said yes, and I did well with the yes, because it was a time bound thing, but then it became an expectation that I always do this thing. And I had to have a very frank conversation with my supervisor at the time, who was like vice president level, right? To say, hey, this is not sustainable long term. So I need your help to tell me what you'd like me to prioritize because I can't do it all. And when we initially discussed this, this is what we said. And so it opened up this conversation and it turned into, well, what do you need? And then we were able to negotiate and I was able to hand some things back or such and such can do that. Okay, figure out someone else to do these other things so that I could focus on the thing that was truly important. And all too often, many of us are running ourselves into the ground rather than engaging in the sacred no or its cousin, negotiating. So sometimes you have to negotiate to mind your business, okay? And then next, the pause. There's so much value in a pause. To take a beat. It's an opportunity for you to catch your breath. It's an opportunity for you to think, an opportunity to regulate your emotions, to allow some breaths in, right? Because when we're too worked up, we become dysregulated and our brain does not function as logically if we're emotionally dysregulated. So take a moment sometimes. You don't have to respond to that email right away. You don't have to respond to the text immediately. You don't have to call back. the very next second. I always recommend to clients to think about what their current reality supports, not what people are expecting of them. What does my current reality support? And to go from there, because that allows for you to be able to operate authentically. Okay. So these are not just tools, but these are new habits for safety to help keep your nervous system regulated, to help you show up as a better version of you, and for people to receive and experience this better version of you. And when you mind your business, believe it or not, you have a lot more to give. You're able to operate from overflow. You're able to let your yeses be yes and your no's be no's. You're respected more because people now see your time as valuable. When people have too much access because you're minding their business, they can easily take you for granted or expect things that you never set or intended to be a standard. Okay. So minding your business is change. And with change, there comes resistance and there comes barriers or pushback, right? People are going to notice that you're minding your business. And some of them, they might not like it. They might have a hard time adjusting. Doesn't mean that they don't care about you. Doesn't mean that they don't love you. They're just like, what's this? And this is not what I was expecting, right? So they also need time to adjust. And we want them to notice, okay? We want them to notice. Now, where it gets hard is that minding your business also means you can't manage how they feel. And for some of them, they might interpret it as abandonment. It might feel like inconvenience. Some of them might even try to guilt trip you or that classic, "Oh, you changed now. You too good for us now?" Indicators that you've changed. And this is nothing you said. The reality is if they are projecting onto you, they do feel abandoned, right? And that's probably their truth. It's likely tied to something from a prior season in their life where other people have left them or they've not risen. And sometimes they're afraid to rise because they think that means they'll leave others behind. When it's a choice, all of us have the choice to rise. And it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing. It's just making healthier decisions. And some do not, just to be in community. But it's a community that then you'll never feel comfortable in because it's not a community that accepts you at your fullest, that's not threatened by your growth. And you're not doing any of us any favors by playing small. And let's be clear, just because they try to guilt trip you, it does not mean that you've done something wrong. It's just confirmation. It's confirmation of your growth. And when that happens, let them. If they move away from you, if they pull away from you, let them. Let them lose you because that was their choice. And I know that sounds scary, downright terrifying, even. But they made a choice, not you. And the more you try to hold on to and preserve that relationship, they'll lose respect for you. You will be misused, mishandled, and abused. You have to let people adjust. An adjustment can look like them adapting to the new version of you, giving them time. It could also look like letting them lose you. Again, choice, but you can leave space for that. And sometimes people they need a pause. It can take them a long time to come back up. I've experienced that in past friendships where things broke down. I thought I did something wrong and I was working to repair the friendship and wanted the friendship and finally got to the point where it was just like, I didn't do anything. What am I fixing? Where I let them, I took my hands off of it. I minded my business. And you know what happened? My absence required them to look at themselves. It was painful every single time I've experienced this. But in my absence, they grew. When you mind your business, you're no longer enabling certain behaviors in people. You're no longer standing in the gaps. They have to learn to figure things out. They have to learn to hop over the puddle. where you were there prior before to say, hey, watch out for that puddle. They have to learn it on their own. And it's not punishment. It's not punishment. It's growth. And in doing so, that led to actually like reconciliation in the end, where they came back around. We had a conversation. They took ownership of their parts. Apologies were even issued. And I had gotten to the point where I was just like, okay, I guess I'll let it be what it's going to be. And it was actually a really beautiful thing to see that they grew. Now, what would have happened if I stayed in that gap? I would have been emotionally beaten down. I would have felt disregarded. Resentment could have built. There's so many things that can come out of not minding your business. And I want you to know you do not have to shrink to keep connections. And if you do, it's not a genuine connection. Okay. When you truly mind your business, you will find peace, or peace finds you, and it will get deeper. Your clarity will sharpen. You'll have more discernment. You'll be more balanced. Your body will react. You don't even have to work to identify the threats. You'll have the capacity to take things as they come and respond in the moment. So you're not even having to be prepared because that nervous system is at ease. So that means you have it. You're from moving from operating from overflow. And ultimately, your relationships improve. And then you'll get to show up in a way that's beneficial to whomever you're in relationship with. And that discernment gets stronger and stronger. And your emotional intelligence, it goes up. And that creates a ripple in your environment. When you mind your business, you not only heal yourself, you heal your communities, you heal your relationships, the ones that made it through the adjustment period anyway, because you're showing people a different way of doing things. And then they can see it on you. They'll see the glow. They'll see the productivity in your life. They'll see you elevating. They'll see your skin glowing. They'll see you losing weight. They just see like all of a sudden you just have an aura about you. They'll see it, they'll experience it, and they'll get curious. So minding your business, it gives others permission to do the same. And it inspires them to do the same and motivates them to do the same because they knew the version of you that didn't mind your business and what your struggles were. And they can see that those things are no more. Minding your business, this is what emotional maturity looks like. So 2026 doesn't require more hustle. It requires more alignment. And alignment starts when you decide to no longer abandon yourself. Not minding your business is self abandonment, it's self sabotage, it's self betrayal. And we're not doing that anymore. 2026 is the year where you mind your business. 2026 is your year for breakthrough. 2026 is your year to give yourself and others the permission to rise. I want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. If this has blessed you, leave some feedback down in the comments. Leave a review. We love a 5-star review. That'll help this platform to grow and to be able to meet people where they are in their healing journey so that others too can rise. Don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you share it. If this benefited you and you know people that this will benefit, please share it with them. And also, if you'd like to book a session for coaching, I'm accepting clients nationwide. So you can go to www.evolvewithdrjnicole.com and we can work on coaching you to mind your business and make 2026 a breakthrough year for you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.